Thank you very much, all the keynote speakers. Can you see me? Hello?
Yes, Raghu, we can see you.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
start my video. Kritika, can you help us on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So straight for so after 4 powerful keynote sessions from some of the eminent speakers from a wide spectrum of the industry, I think it's now time for us to deep dive into some specialized topics and a few ground level facts. We have put together a very interesting panel with industry speakers representing various elements of the vaccine supply chain. Now I request moderator, Mr. Vishal Gandhi, to lead us into the panel discussions. Before that, I would like to introduce Mr. Vishal Gandhi. He is the founder and CEO at BioRx Venture Advisors Private Limited. He has an overall 20 plus years of strong experience of strategic advisory deals in terms of investments, mergers and acquisition, India strategy, India entry strategy, and due diligence for healthcare and agri sector. He's amongst the top 20 dedicated healthcare investment bankers in the country. He has been often quoted in business papers for his views, given his superior understanding of the healthcare sector. Prior to BioRx, Vishal has held top and mid-management positions in Yes Bank, Ranbaxy Research Laboratories, and Dabur Research Foundation, to name a few. Vishal holds a management degree from XLRI, Jamshedpur, and master degree in biotechnology from the University of Hyderabad. Over to you, Vishal.
Thank you, Raghu, for the introduction. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So at the outset, I'd like to thank NASSCOM Center of Excellence and Life Sciences Healthcare Forum for the opportunity for BioRx Ventures Advisors to be associated as a partner in this thought leadership session. And thank you, Sanjeev, Pramod, Dr. Sharma, Dr. Ranjan, and Gagan for setting the tone for sharing your vision. And I think it's a good time to segue to our panel discussion. Good evening, morning, and afternoon to all the participants attending this significant thought leadership session across the time zones. It's my honor and deep privilege to moderate a session on the most relevant social impactful theme in current times, titled as, and I quote, Nuances of Vaccine Supply Chain, the Strategy Forward, and I unquote. Particularly when the COVID vaccine is round the corner for a mega immunization rollout program by the Indian government. I must say that we couldn't have had better thought leaders as panelists for this discussion, and I'm deeply encouraged by each of their presence. Despite challenging task at hand, you have taken out time to share insights on this significant topic. We have a diverse panel from North, South, West, and East India. It's so mystic it happened like that. And I'm convinced that the panel functional expertise, so we have innovator, we have producer, we have logistics player, cold chain, and digital solution provider dedicated for the vaccination to present their synergistic perspective in vaccine supply chain. And I think which will actually be able to bring a great value for all of us. We have 5 distinguished panelists. Let me start by inviting the first one, which is we have a global pharma and biotech MNC known for its highest level of research and development caliber, and that is Shiva. Shiva from AstraZeneca. Shiva, may I request you to introduce briefly? Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. Hi, everyone. My name is Shiva Padmanabhan. I lead the Global Digital and Technology Center for AstraZeneca in India. I have a lot of experience in healthcare, including in McKesson, which is one of the largest distributors in the world back in the US. As Sanjay said earlier, the views that I express in this panel will be my own and not necessarily those of my company. Thank you, and back to you, Vishal.
Thank you. So may I now request Dr. Ravetkar, who actually represents one of the largest vaccine manufacturer in the country and worldwide. He comes with a long-standing experience of working in Serum Institute for the past 47 years, and with whom I have known for a decade. So, sir, please introduce yourself briefly. Dr. Ravitkar, are you there with us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Please go ahead and introduce briefly yourself. Thank you.
Vishal, you have told me a very difficult job because I am not used to self-introduce myself. But I will
I'm sure you
try.
do it with your passion and commitment.
At outset, I thank Mr. Sanjeev Malhotra and Mr. Pramod Bhasin of NASSCOM for giving this honor to me to speak in this August gathering. And as you said, I've been with Serum Institute of India right from almost the inception of the company, and I had a privilege of putting in the market the first vaccine produced by Serum Institute of India in 70s. That was tetanus antitoxin, followed by tetanus toxide. So the journey still continues, and the COVID-19 is a big challenge. And at Serum Institute of India, founded by Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla and now led by, as you know, Mr. Adar Poonawalla, CEO. We are working on different technologies for this COVID-19 vaccine, and we are trying whatever succeeds first. Of course, we have got a very advanced stage collaboration with AstraZeneca, and that vaccine is almost completed phase 3. You know that. Thanks.
Sir, thank you so much for a brief introduction. Moving on further, I have Mr. Roman Lois, who's the Chief Operating Officer at Bamal Lorry. I think a company with a history of more than 150 years, serving India with deep passion and commitment. The company has emerged as one of the largest players in temperature control logistics in India, and I think which is really the critical need of the hour. And I request Mr. Lewis to introduce himself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vishal, for inviting. My name is R.S. Lewis, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of Bamalori. Bamalori is a mini Ratna public sector company under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. We are diversified into various activities, and cold chain is one of the segment which I am looking after in the logistic infrastructure. In fact, we have come up with the cold chain facilities in the metros and the Tier 2 cities, and we are also giving an end-to-end solution. And we are also into the logistics of the container freight stations we are having in 3 locations. Plus, we are also into the freight forwarding. We are also into the project logistics. So we are into the various logistics where we can give an end-to-end solution to the customers. Thank you very much, Vishal, for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for the crisp introduction. Last not the least, actually moving on further, we have Kiran Gaba, who's the CEO of Gaba Pharma Cold Storage. And I think there are very few dedicated companies in the area of cold storage for the pharma and vaccine industry that I'm aware of, basis my research in last 3 months. And I think Kiran has, a pleasure of actually heading this company. And so I would request Kiran to introduce himself.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to a few people across the globe. Yeah. Ours is a 30th. I'm Gaba Kiran, CEO of Gaba Cold Storage and Gaba Pharma Cold Storage. 33 years into our existence, we are mostly based in Telangana and Hyderabad. And 3 years ago, we ventured ourselves into pharmaceutical preservation, which is not very familiar in India. And that is how quickly in the last 3 years, we became one of the biggest in South India with 10,000 pallets. And by next year, we'll be having close to 20,000 pallets. And our COVID vaccine compliant cold storage facility with the 3 temperature zones of 228, -20, and 1525 will be unveiled in Jan 2020. And that's very little about me. I want to be little as crisp as short for myself and add value to the session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kiran. We need to save time. So last not the least, you can't achieve a scale, as Pramod said very successfully, without technology. And it's my immense pleasure introducing Adarsh Kumar, co-founder and CEO, Tagbox, a niche IoT-based disruptive technology company backed by TVS Motors. I think Tagbox has a unique role to play in emerging ecosystem of track and trace till last mile delivery of vaccines. So Adarsh, over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks so much, Vishal, and thanks NASSCOM team for having me on this panel. Quickly introducing myself, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tagbox. Before Tagbox, my background is more than 15 years in analytics and data science with various companies like Mu Sigma, GE, and Fidelity. Now at Tagbox, we have been building smart supply chain solutions. Obviously a lot of work being done in the cold chain area over the last 5 years. We work with more than 35 customers across India in the food and beverage and pharma space, giving cold chain monitoring and traceability solutions from the source manufacturing plant to the last mile, which includes quality and compliance, traceability, and operational efficiency. So some very, very innovative work being done by Tagbox, and would love to share more as we go through the panel. So back to you, Vishal.
Thank you, Adarsh. So please allow me to present few facts in front of you for your better understanding. 30% disruption in vaccine supply chain was a norm pre-pandemic. The challenge ahead is about controlling this disruption to practically zero level, as the vaccine quantities for COVID are going to be scarce. There are other significant challenges related to vaccine production, pricing, distribution, cold chain infrastructure, technology integration, capacity building, and so on and so forth. India may need to spend about $2 billion on COVID-19 vaccine in its first phase. India, which has the world's second highest caseload of coronavirus, plans to vaccinate 300 million people over the next 6 to 8 months, likely with the vaccines from AstraZeneca, Russia Sputnik, Zydus Cadila, and our own Indian Bharat Biotech. Approximately little over 1 million government healthcare facilities, which is a mix of primary and healthcare centers across 850 cities in India. There are 8 vaccine candidates which have completed or at the stage of completion, stage phase 3 trials. Vaccinator capacity building to build administration capability at a scale and set industry standards, which have never seen before. CoWIN, I think as one of our fellow panelists shared, a digital platform to create awareness and track trace vaccine administration till the last mile delivery in a holistic manner. Cold chain requirement for the front runners in race for COVID-19 vaccine range from -70 Celsius to 8 degrees Celsius. I think it's a monumental challenge, if we were to look at -70. It has never happened before in India. As we come closer to the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, the topic of supply chain is gathering a lot of attention, and one has to understand the magnitude and unprecedented challenge, as Pramod spoke about, in India's preparedness for a policy and robust implementation framework for COVID-19 vaccine immunization for 1.3 billion people in India. So my first question to all my panelists would be, are we ready for COVID-19 vaccine rollout in terms of technology, efficacy, safety, and last not the least, logistics? I would request each one of you to share your views, and I start with Shiva. Shiva, your views on this.
Thank you, Vishal. I think that's an excellent question. And I think largely from what we've heard earlier in the panel discussion today, we are ready, right? We indeed have a digital platform, and many of the pieces of that are components of that are in place, such as the EVIN, the CoWIN, the SafeVac, etc. So in my view, I think we are ready from a forward path. If we have the vaccine, how do we get it to all the recipients? But it's about the feedback path that perhaps we need more work on. So as we know, this is a long period where this will happen, and many things will happen during that period of vaccination, right? It could be supply chain disruptions, shortages of vaccine, adverse events, and the pandemic itself, how it progresses as we do the vaccination, and how do we target that during its progress to really get the most efficacy. So it's about that feedback loop, and how do we quickly act on that feedback loop. That's what I think we need to now focus on, and make sure we have a very agile and a command center approach, right? As we actually get some of this feedback, how can we quickly take that information on, make changes to the program, and make sure that we get the best effectiveness out of the whole program. So I think that's really where I think we need to even further focus at this point.
Wonderful. So may I turn to Adarsh? Adarsh, any supplement points, add-ons?
No, absolutely. I think great points from Shiva. I think we definitely seem to have a very good platform going with CoWIN and even the couple of things that I want to add is, see, this level, this scale of a program has probably never been undertaken ever before anywhere in the world, right? We are lucky that we have had an immunization program for all this while, and we seem to have the supply chain figured out. A couple of things that we need to be thinking about. I think it's going to be summer by the time most of the vaccines start rolling out. So while the technology platform exists, when we will monitor storage temperatures across the entire supply chain, given the summertime, how do we make sure that the vaccines are transported also in the appropriate temperature that is required, especially for the frozen vaccines like Sputnik and Pfizer, right? So I think those are some key technology areas that you need to thought about. Second aspect is while everybody else prepares to roll out authentic vaccines, I'm sure there is a drug mafia waiting out there to roll out their counterfeit vaccines, and that's going to be very, very real threat across the world. So traceability of vaccines is going to be a big ask, and I think so the even platform does take care of that, and we'll discuss a little bit more later on some of the details. But talking about preparedness around traceability to make sure pilferage does not happen is the other area which we need to focus on.
No, I think you hit a very important point, which is about counterfeiting, which may happen considering the situation. And I think if you have a solution towards that, that will be really monumental and that will be really impactful. So over to Kiran. Kiran, any comments on the theme? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just the pharma vaccine industry, it's the complete end-to-end supply chain which needs to be done. India is not known for pharmaceutical preservation over the years because we are still a developing country, unlike the West, which is already developed. If you go to America, the complete supply chain is developed. But in India, it's not. We are only known for preserving fruits, vegetables, pulses, spices, and so on. Vaccine at this length, no. You can take chances when you preserve an ice cream. Even if the ice cream melts by little, still you end up eating the ice cream. But you can't take chance when you are administering a vaccine which has to be stored at 2 to 8. Forget about 2 to 8, it's -20. Forget about -20, it's -70. India didn't think -70. When we were scouting about -70, like even if someone wears a gear and goes into the operations of that -70 cold storage, he can't stay for more than 5 minutes. Else he may lose his nose. The nose may fall off. That intense is -70 because we haven't seen -70 facilities.
That reminds me actually of my being a researcher and going to -70 for some protein work. And it's tough to be there. Actually, I think you hit the nail. It's so relevant. So I'll come back to you, Kiran. Now, let me turn to Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis, your comments will be very valuable. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Kiran about his views. What he said is absolutely correct. In fact, although, yes, India is yet to gear up with the cold chain logistics, because it is like what he said, the fruits and vegetables is what India is right now into. And yes, now slowly, like we have also started coming up with temperature control warehouses in various locations where we can accommodate all the pharma products and all. And but the thing is that for the small places where there is no facilities, it's going to be a challenging for India. So, but then yes, all of us are completely geared up to see to make sure that the vaccine goes by the transport from all the metros and all the other big places, and it goes to all the people in India so that the vaccine can be given to each and everybody in India.
Yeah, you spoke about challenge. So do you think the challenge is an opportunity for Balmal Lorry from a business perspective?
Oh yes, we always take challenge, and we are geared up. In fact, we have recently gone ahead with the temperature control vehicles, and if we can maybe help the people of India, we will be happy to do that, and we are all geared up to see that the vaccine goes to each and every person in India.
Sure, sure. Wonderful. Dr. Ravedkar, any comments from your side?
Yeah, I think we are absolutely ready for this total vaccination of the country. And India has got a very robust immunization system. Already, we had a couple of campaigns of polio vaccine, oral polio vaccine. Then last year was a MR vaccine. So, and otherwise also, it has got its own immunization, what we call as EPI, expanded program of immunization in a place. So all the even workers down the line till ASHA workers, they are doing excellent, and government has also established a very robust system. So I don't foresee any problem. And at Serum Institute, you must have read, we have got stocks lying up. We have taken a risk and gone ahead and made stocks, and so we are waiting only for the government permission. So I think if emergency usage permission, what we call as EUP, is given, I think we should be able to roll out vaccine very fast. And this I think there is a lot of talent, and India is a very leading in IT and BT both. So it will be shameful on our part if we delay the program of immunizing people lots, because we are lucky in having the first wave also of COVID-19 late. Second, we are maybe personally I feel we have got a ethnic immunity because of the Indians are immune to this flu virus. So traditionally also, and also the temperature in the country is also not favorable for this virus. So I think we should start vaccination at earliest to control this epidemic fast.
Sure. So I think all the road are leading to a Serum Institute. So we're
Yes.
looking at Serum, and I'm sure with AstraZeneca and Serum collaboration, it will happen. So I think that's going to be a monumental victory for each one of us, and it's going to be a humanitarian work that you're doing. Wonderful. So I'll come to Shiva. So Shiva, being a leader in Global Technology Center of AstraZeneca, which is a brand recognized for innovation in pharma and biotech. So what are your views on the role of technology in ensuring the equitable distribution of vaccine and its uptake among the intended recipients? So your views will be valuable.
Yeah, thank you, Vishal. I think this is really where the sweet spot of technology, right? To really look at this whole program, which is one of a kind, really massive, unprecedented, right? And how can we actually win with this program? And to win with this program, we have to sort of define what are those metrics, right? And how do we know that we have been successful? And technology really has a role to play in every one of these metrics. So let me talk about a few. So speed to me is the probably the most important, right? As the pandemic continues to spread, how do you reach that threshold for getting community immunity as quickly as possible? So when you talk about speed, it's all about not only the speed of the supply chain, but also the speed of how how can we make sure that any feedback signals are quickly interpreted, and the whole program is appropriately altered to take care of that. Quality, right? We talked about the cold chain, the ability for technology to track the cold chain and the efficacy of the vaccine throughout the cold chain. Talk about equity as a sort of parameter, right, as a success measure. So here is where the fraud detection comes in, right? Is using technologies like blockchain, it's possible that all these endpoints are actually jointly sort of creating immutable records that allow the best targeting and the possibilities of fraudulent usage, diversion, etc., being being eliminated. So technologies like machine learning can ensure that the vaccine reaches intended recipients. So if you actually see that big data that we talked about earlier in Sargent's session, it's really about all this data that comes through this 18 months, 24-month program. That data, when machine learning is combined with that data, we can actually see if there are patterns where there is some of these things happening, diversion or fraud or reimbursement issues and so on and so forth. I'll talk about one or two more, the training and capacity building, right? Like virtual reality and augmented reality to train a lot of administrators of this vaccine across the country, because we'll need a lot of them and they all will need training, right? Not all of them, but many of them will need training because we're going to bring them on for this program. Think about cost, which is another metric, efficacy, and the uptake, most importantly, is how do we educate the masses in multi-languages with multimedia using smartphones, which are now so prevalent across the length and breadth of the country, in regional languages, in a way that people understand, what does this mean to me? What is this vaccine? Why should I take it? What should I expect when I take it? What are some of the adverse reactions I can expect? And then how do I get my slot or spot to get myself vaccinated? So imagine the technology that can push all this out very rapidly, this kind of information in a very interesting way, maybe through things like gamification, where you actually are involved and engaged in really understanding what this whole program is like. So technology can play a role in every one of these success parameters for a massive program like what we are going to undertake.
Sure. I have an add-on question. Can technology actually be used to accelerate the milestone that government has set, that, the various levels of population coverage through the vaccine and how, so can technology really play a role there?
Yes, absolutely, Vishal. I absolutely believe so. So especially if you're looking at multiple system participants to come in during later phases of the vaccine, like, for example, the private hospital networks or other healthcare providers. Now, APIs, application programming interfaces, are a great way to bring new players into the system very quickly, plug and play, right? So you could actually access information and provide and send information in a very seamless way, and expand the pace of a program like this. So this is the way. It's one of the ways where I think technology can really accelerate. And one other way I think about is, imagine that dashboard, right? If you're sitting at a state level or even at the central level, an immersive visualization of how this pandemic is spreading throughout the country, but also how the vaccination is spreading throughout the country. And are you actually able to see reduction in cases as vaccine gets rolled out? Are you able to see adverse events in that same map? So think about that kind of visualization and how powerful it could be in accelerating this program for policymakers. So I think the role of technology is vital in the speed and achieving some of these great milestones that have been set up.
Wonderful. I hope that CoWIN platform that I think one of the speakers talked about does take care of all the aspects, because I think they're very, very important part. So let me turn to Dr. Ravedkar. So Dr. Ravedkar, since you handle the production and logistics for serum, what are the key risks that you see in supply chain? And how can we better prepare from our earlier experiences, because we can't really afford to take a risk in this scenario. So your views will be very helpful, sir.
Yeah, in case of COVID-19, there are no doubt certain challenges in this because we have to cover a lot of people, because looking at the Indian population, we have to cover millions of people in a very short time. So this is going to be the big demand. That is one. And as I said earlier, we have got a very strong IT, and we have got demand forecasting already done. Sourcing is also established, and morning it was mentioned that India supplies 65% of the world's vaccine. So we are very strong in vaccines. So only thing I think what is needed is everything starts with the government now getting into the action, because the problems that we'll be facing after getting into action will be again different. And with this supply chain management and IT and BT enabled structure, what we have, demand is, as I said, forecasted. the supply is already established. For example, in Serum Institute alone, we produce 1.6 billion doses annually, which is huge capacity. And we claim that every third child in the world is immunized with the Serum Institute vaccine. And we have got a couple of companies in vaccine manufacturing companies in India, like you mentioned, Bharat Biotech, Biological Evans, or Zydus Cadila. So I think we can roll out this vaccine fast. Only thing, see, as I said, I'm not trying to push because all things require planning. Because once we get a confirmed plan from the government of how they are going to implement this, then we need to everybody, manufacturer need to order boxes or cold chain monitors. They are, for example, the cold chain monitors are imported, so they are not available. They in turn depend on somebody else for the raw material. So it is a total supply chain management. So earlier the decision taken, it will be easy for all the manufacturers to plan their production and even the total supply chain. And then it will be easy for even all the stakeholders in the chain to implement this plan. And about counterfeiting, you mentioned, we have experience. There are counterfeiting in regular vaccines. So in this COVID-19, there will be, we expect this is bound to happen because there is a huge demand for this vaccine. So we'll have to set up machinery. And again, I'm saying not just because this is a NESCOM seminar, but we have got a very strong IT, and I know what IT can do wonders. So we can set up a system wherein we can control all these factors.
Wonderful, wonderful. So let me turn to Mr. Lewis. So Mr. Lewis, what is the unique role that your organization, which has a good market share in temperature control logistics business in India, and with respect to the COVID-19 vaccine rollout? And you can also share that what worked previously and what did not, and how that experience could be leveraged for the COVID-19 vaccination plan.
We have the temperature control warehouses in almost 5 places where we are presently operating. We have 2 metros. We have the other places. We are coming up with a TCW in Bhubaneswar also. We are trying to come up with more and more facilities. We have the state-of-the-art facility with 3,500 to 3,800 pallets capacity. And we are also now into the vehicles where we can give an end-to-end solution to the customers, picking it up from their place and delivering it to wherever they want to deliver. And we also have a facility in AMTZ where Dr. Jitendra Sharma was talking about. He has a beautiful facility where we have come up with a facility there. We have a temperature control warehouse there. There also we are having a temperature control warehouse. So we are seeing where all we can come up with these facilities and give an end-to-end solution. As far as our company is concerned, we are already into the logistics, and we are into the into the container freight stations. We are into the multimodal logistic hub. We have got a very good facility in Vizag where we have the rail facility. We are into the rail logistics. We are into the freight forwarding. We are into the projects logistics. We are also into the travels and the vacation. We are diversified into various activities. We are into the manufacturing. We do manufacturing of steel drums. We are leaders there. So it's like, and also in cold chain also we want to come up with, in fact, we just started off this temperature control warehouse, like this segment, and then now we want to come up with all the, a lot of more locations. We are already trying to get land, and then, and especially in the COVID, we are, in fact, we want to help the government to see that our facilities are being utilized, and then we could provide the vaccine to all the people in India. And that is what the public sector, as we always want that to help the people and make sure that because this is a very important a vaccine where we all of us are looking forward to get this so that everybody stay healthy and safe.
Yeah, that's a wonderful assurance, Mr. Lois. I think we couldn't have expected better than this. So now it's a time to actually move to Adarsh. Adarsh, you know that Indian government has announced a platform which is called Co-Win. And how do you think that will play a key role in vaccine distribution? And I think based on your interest in this area, what are your thoughts, on this particular platform?
For sure. Thanks, Vishal. So I think I was mentioning this earlier. Even has been there for almost 4 or 5 years. The key component of even, just to kind of explain that in a little bit more detail, is we have a lot of these different cold storages all across the country where vaccines are stored, and they're moved from a manufacturer to cover various depots and stores all the way to a primary health center. All these stores are real-time monitored by the government, which is fabulous, right? With the scale of that is really, really good. But now if you come back to, there are also some contrasting thoughts. If you look at a lot of these different reports, which are out there, right, from WHO and other different bodies, they talk about the fact that, during our general immunization programs, 30 to 40% of our vaccines have temperature excursions, especially in the last mile when we go to the remotest parts of India.
Absolutely.
And like I was saying earlier, bulk of the distribution is going to happen in the Indian summer, where temperatures are going to be in the high 30s, mid 40s, right, depending on which part of India you are. So that is going to be a key challenge, right, as far as distribution is concerned. What we are very clear about in the eWin and Co-Win platform is monitoring of the storage points. But now if you imagine the scale of this operation, pretty much every single cold chain operator out there will have to play a part. I mean, there is no two ways about it. Everybody is going to be, right, the airlines, the cargo operators, the different types of cold chain logistics providers, freight forwarders. I think Modi ji announced partnership with B Medical Systems from Luxembourg to carry out boxes. There are Indian box manufacturing companies. Every single person who touches cold chain in any manner is going to be playing a part in this ecosystem. So now imagine the amount of handoffs that are going to happen from manufacturer to a government depot to a vaccination center, right, in an election mode kind of a basis, via airports, on tarmacs. There are so many different failure points, because while we have had a great system, we have never tested it, we stress tested it like this. So which is why I think what we need is some sort of a common thread, a common technology, because if you look at it, every cold chain operator actually claims that they have a temperature monitoring device inside their reefer truck. But how do you get that data to eWin? How do you understand whether the vaccine was protected or not? That's a critical question. We cannot afford to have 30 to 40% of vaccines having a temperature excursion. Obviously not, because we are trying to achieve that goal of community immunity in very, very close time. If we do not solve this problem today, we are going to end up vaccinating probably everybody that we want to, but with only let's say 50 to 60% actual efficacy rate, which is not great for any of us, because billions of dollars are being poured in. So I think that's where somebody like, the kind of solutions that we provide actually are very relevant, where irrespective of which part of the supply chain is using and transporting the COVID vaccine, our technology can be seamlessly used to monitor the traceability of the vaccine, right, in terms of counterfeiting, theft, pilferage, etc., and the temperature compliance across the entire supply chain, from the manufacturer's doorstep to through airports, on the road, to the last mile, to the remotest villages, and so on and so forth.
So is it fair to assume that a startup like Tagbox, which is, I think, about 2.5 years back company, and of course got decent amount of funding to scale up. But do you think you're in a position to help Government of India in this massive vaccine distribution initiative? Do you think that you can actually facilitate that?
Absolutely. And just to small correction, almost 5 years into the journey of Tagbox, but we have already deployed more than 25,000 sensors in the India market for various types of cold chain use cases, right? These are pharma, diagnostics, e-commerce, and so on and so forth. The entire platform is ready to go, right? So I think Satish ji was mentioning that I think everybody's kind of waiting for a broad government signal that, which needs to be triggered, and then the entire supply chain will start. Yeah, so absolutely, we have the hardware, the software, analytics, AI capabilities to be able to take up a challenge like this And I firmly believe that without a technology like TagBox, we run the risk of having, issues like temperature excursions, which are not reported. And then while the beneficiaries might receive the vaccine, right, it may not be effective. So it's very critical for us to have these Lego blocks in place as we look at this huge initiative.
Sure. Now, may I turn to Kiran? Kiran, so are there any specific guidelines from a regulatory perspective or certification perspective which are required for vaccine preservation business? And how is your company, which is Gaba, uniquely placed to tap this emerging business opportunity? And add on to that is, how many such facilities exist in India today which can actually contribute to the vaccine preservation? So your crisp thought will be very helpful.
Yeah. So first of all, as I said initially, let me start probably less than any. I mean, if you look at, you need to be a WHO GDP certified cold storage facility to handle pharmaceuticals. And I don't think more than 5% of the Indian cold storage industry. There are some 10,000 cold storage in India, but not more than 5% or probably 3% are WHO GDP certified. Now, there's a lot of, we have lots of opportunities for the cold chain industry, yet we have challenges too. If you look at, there are a lot of multi-level cold storage facility, conventional cold storage facility, walk-in cold storage facility, where you have got wooden rafters where you store the potatoes. Now, those cold storage cannot be stored in, are not equipped to store pharma. Now they have to now upgrade themselves, call up the consultants, upgrade themselves, and be vaccine compliant ready. No two ways about it. Coming back to the regulatories, as a cold storage industry, we have to go little minding, because the pharma industry, everybody now, as an ecosystem, everybody are pitching in for this human cause. We all know that we have lost our loved ones in the last year or so. Everybody is pitching in. Now, in this whole arena, if you look at the regulatories, if AstraZeneca is sending from a SEZ manufacturing facility, then even we, the cold storage, have to be equipped to store that the vaccines which come from a SEZ facility and then goes for exports. So if it's coming from an EO unit, a different methodology paperwork is needed. You have to be a custom bonded warehouse, and also with the exports and imports permission to be taken. So these are the fine-tuning things which we, the cold storage industry, have to jump in and add value. It's like when you go to a hotel, when you ask kya chahiye, then the guy would say, hey, we got this, we got a coffee with a shot, with a strawberry this, we got cookies, like that. So we, the cold storage industry, need to go toe to toe in looking at actually what's needed from the pharma client to the shipper to the logistics to overall. Else the value addition cannot be done at this shorter time, at this huge magnitude level.
Thank you, Kiran, for presenting those ground level challenges. And I think they're a very, very important aspect to handle. So we have about only 5 minutes left, and I already have received a couple of questions from the organizers, which were shared in my chat box by the attendees. And so I have only scope to take one question, and I would like each one of you to reflect on that. And that question is, how can COVID-19 vaccine be used to accelerate the adoption of digital health in India? So I would want anybody to take a lead. So maybe Adarsh or Shiva can take a lead, and then anybody and people can supplement, and then we wrap up. So Shiva, over to you if you want to pick up.
Thanks, Vishal. I think it's a tremendous opportunity here, right? I think we have all of those standards that have been defined in the last several years. The National Digital Health Stack, the Electronic Health Record Standard. All of them have been defined, but a typical country takes 10 to 15 years to implement it. Many countries haven't even been able to do that, despite being very advanced countries, because they have this sort of fractured systems. There are some hospital systems that have their own EHR, some others have their another standard. But here's an opportunity to really leapfrog, right? By using this as an opportunity to create that digital health foundation of personal health records, electronic health information, interoperability between primary, secondary, tertiary healthcare delivery systems can be absolutely enabled very, very quickly. Although, yes, we should not waste any time or effort during this critical path, right, to more than what's necessary. But I think we can still use this as a huge opportunity to build those foundations. And then, the next time around, this becomes reusable. Everything becomes reusable because you've defined it as a health stack, right? It may not be a virus, but whatever it is that you need to achieve in the health system, it becomes much more easy, right? So I think that's the opportunity.
Add on from Adarsh or Mr. Lewis or Ravid.
Yeah. So, I mean, a quick thing, digitization of supply chain is something that, I think digitization of health records is kind of, and patient records is what kind of she was referring to. Digitization of the supply chain itself is something very, very, critical and can be achieved, through this entire immunization program. I mean, think of it as the airport systems, they are connected all over the world. Your, personal identification systems, like from a, interoperability from country perspective are connected. Similarly, if you think of a digitized supply chain platform where all the different logistics players, manufacturers, etc., are connected, so that the distribution of any pharma product, I mean, forget the vaccine for a moment, but any pharma product which requires cold chain or otherwise, if we can create that kind of a platform to generate data, everybody contributes to that platform. So something like a blockchain can definitely be used. And we can leverage that even for our general distribution of products, which will definitely improve the safety with which medicines are delivered all across the country. So yeah, definitely an opportunity to do that.
Brilliant. Mr. Lewis, any add-ons?
Yeah. Yes, I agree with both of them. And in fact, we in fact, all of us have to gear up for this and make sure that the entire the chain works, starting from getting the vaccine, storing it, sending it to all the people, and we are sure. I'm sure that we will definitely be able to do it.
Great. Kiran and Dr. Ravidkar, anything you want to share further?
Only thing I would like to share is, this digitalization can help in AEFI, tracking also, and also the tracking of, vaccine when it is dispatched from the company, from our warehouse. You can have proper GPS system. So the digitalization can help in having the tracking of vaccine and also counterfeiting. And the third area is AEFI. So 3 areas it can help.
True. And I think COVID does take care of all these aspects, starting from the vaccine manufacturer till the last mile delivery, where the immunization is actually planned. And that's what limited understanding I have. So Kiran, you wanted to share something quickly?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The magnanimity of the challenge is mighty. Now it's time for everybody in the complete ecosystem, not to be reactive, be proactive. Think 10 steps ahead of what is needed and do what's needed from your side, rather than getting something and answer. No, you give your answers and keep alerting your ecosystem. Hey, this is the possible breakdown that might occur after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or in your portfolio. That is how, as an ecosystem, we go together united.
The time is to act now, and I think before we wrap up the session, I would just request each one of you to share one-liner suggestion or recommendation you leave for policymakers or associated implementation agencies for the seamless implementation of one of the largest public healthcare program. So one-liner from each one of you.
I would say speed is the top priority here, right? However we can accelerate, the better off we are.
Wonderful. Kiran?
Keep connecting, keep talking, keep in communication, keep accepting each other.
I think connecting the dot is all about supply chain. Mr. Lewis?
Yes, in fact, we have to act fast and make sure that we are able to give the end-to-end solution, so that this this works out well, because this is a very important, where we have to ensure that like the entire logistics takes place very well.
Yeah, end to end is the key. Others.
Absolutely.
Yeah, adding on to that, end-to-end traceability and temperature compliance. That should be the mantra.
Absolutely, and that's what TagBox is good at.
Yep.
Mr. Ravetkar, final words.
Yeah, what I personally feel means I am telling very impersonal. It is my personal opinion, not anything we do with Serum Institute. What is called as emergency use authorization, I said, has to come very fast for any vaccine, because that is the only way this epidemic can be controlled. And we are luckily, with God's grace, in a very strategic position with very strong IT, very strong BT, and supplies available. So only that can control this epidemic. And we should not restrict ourselves to only 30% coverage and all. We should cover, and everybody is keen on protecting him and his family. So we should cover maximum people. And I'm sure earlier this emergency use authorization comes for any vaccine, it will be better for the country, and people will be protected. And even in government own interest, economic growth rate can go up substantially, because then people will feel relaxed, and then they can contribute more to the economy of the country.
Couldn't agree more with you, sir. Actually, I had a call from Dr. Ella 3 days back, and he says that, we have applied for it. We haven't got it. Please go and lobby and talk to, DCGI, because none of them have actually got it. So I think
Yes.
it's time for me to pause. And I'd like to thank each of my fellow panelists for their wonderful insights. At least I have learned a lot from each one of them. And I think audience has been very patiently hearing each one of your thoughts. It's time to say bye, and I hand over back to our host, Mr. Raghuram from NASSCOM. And I'd like to again thank NASSCOM for the opportunity. Back to Raghu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you, Siva, Dr. Satish, Kiran, Adarsh, and Mr. Raman. This is a wonderful session for the last 2 months, ever since the vaccine delivery is announced. People are coming out with vaccination program. If people have not seen the newspaper, not attended to any of the interviews on the news channels, not read any digital content on the internet, I think this 40-50 minutes of your session, straight from horse's mouth, players across the supply chain of the vaccine, right from manufacturing till the vaccination itself, is really, really useful. And definitely make sure that this particular video definitely reaches the masses in our network. What I see is a few things which I have really gathered. The intricacies of the supply chain, what you talked about, is something which we never really actually witnessed. I have not read about it in the recent past, but collectively the wisdom what you shared here on the platform. Second, we see that there is a collaboration without competition. Its message is very clear, and everybody is willing to collaborate. And I'm sure in days to come, or maybe months to come, we'll have a new vaccine stack or a digital vaccine stack solutions, which is going to set a new standards for the world. Thank you very much for your wonderful time. I really appreciate. Thank you, Vishal, for putting this wonderful panel together.